Okay. Uh, Welcome back to the course on polytonic converters for renewable energy. Let's have a look at the composition of electricity generation in India, and also let's briefly see the different activities and efforts being made to move towards renewable energy sources. Right. Before we go to the electricity generation in India, let's have a quick look at the world scenario. And so these are the four, starting from the highest on the left to the fourth point on the right, countries in terms of installed capacity of electricity generation. So China has about 2010 gigawatt of installed capacity. Uh, what we mean by installed capacity is the total amount of, if we sum up all the power plants, renewable power plants, thermal power plants, nuclear plants, hydro plants, if we sum up everything, all the capacities, then this is the total country's installed capacity, right? So China at 2010, second number US at about half, and third is India about 365, fourth being Russia, and fifth is Japan. So the first column is for the installed capacity. The second column is the energy which is produced, electrical energy which is produced per annum, right? So the installed capacity, let's say, is about 2000 gigawatt for China. That does not mean that all the power plants are operating 24 by 7, right? So there may be power plants may be shut down for maintenance, may be shut down due to unavailability of raw material input source, or maybe shut down because of low demand. Even if some of the power plants are operating, they may be producing half of the power because the demand is less, right? If it's a renewable plant, for example, let's say solar, then it may not be producing the peak power because it depends on how much solar radiation is available. So if you just take this installed capacity and you multiply it with 24, which gives you the gigawatt hour, the energy per day, if this runs with full capacity, and then if you multiply it with 365, you would realize that you get a value which is much higher than 7503 terawatt hour. It is, in fact, the actual energy production annual is about 40 to 50% of what it could be if all the capacity is running at 24 by 7 at full power. Right? So roughly about 40% of that is what is the actual energy production annually. The energy production, as we understand, is usually represented in watt hour, right? 1 kilowatt hour is nothing but 1 unit. So this is 1 terawatt hour, 1 into 10 power 12 watt hours, which is same as 1 billion units, right? And this is the data for 2019. Now, roughly, I would say yes, there is small deviations across the countries, but roughly the composition is the same. At least in the last decade, it used to be the same. Things would certainly change as we move along. So let's have a little bit more detailed look at the composition of India electricity installed capacity. It's 365 gigawatt in 2019. If you take more recent data from the CEA website, which stands for Central Electricity Authority, it's November 2020 data. It shows about 374 gigawatt. So this is the total installed capacity as of November 2020. Out of this total, majority of the chunk you see is coal, right? So about 55% is coal, which is very substantial. Gas is about 7%, And renewable energy sources, which has now increased in last decade considerably, has is now about 24% of installed capacity, and big hydro is about 12.2%, and some nuclear and very very minute amount of diesel based generation happening. So, one thing, if you see, there are two different things here. One is renewable energy source, and the other one is hydro, and they have been put in different segments. The hydro which is mentioned here essentially is the hydro plants which are of power higher than 3 megawatt, right? So those hydro is generally comes under Ministry of Power, the Government of India, and they are accounted separately as compared to the small hydro, which is of less than 3 megawatt of power, which falls under Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, which is included in this blue chart. But if you see in general, hydro, since it's based on water, stream of water, it can be considered also as a renewable energy source. But this is little bit debatable, and if you see, if you try to read more about this online, you would realize that although it is renewable, but then people do ask a lot of questions such as what is the environmental impact of building a dam and building a hydro, right? And so on. So yeah, just for representation, wherever you would see the Indian installed capacity, the larger hydro, which is more than 3 megawatt, is shown separately as the other smaller hydro, which becomes a part of RES. This RES obviously includes solar, wind, biomass, etc. If you see thermal, its thermal is about 55 plus 7, so it's about 62% of the installed capacity. Thermal and nuclear are the power plants which can actually run theoretically 24/7, right? Because if you have sufficient amount of input, if you have sufficient amount of fuel, you can run it 24/7. So in terms of energy contribution, the energy contributed by these sources is actually even higher in terms of percentage of their installed capacity if you compare with respect to, let's say, renewable. For example, if you take solar, solar can effectively work for, let's say, 5 to 6 hours a day. On the other hand, the coal power plant can theoretically work for 24/7. So even though the installed capacity shows quite a significant improvement, I think still in terms of energy we are lagging quite a bit, and I'll come to more about that in the next slide. Okay, so what's the distribution of this renewable energy sources? Solar is about 37 gigawatt, right, 40%. Then wind is very similar, 38 gigawatt, again 42%. Small hydro I was talking about, it constitutes about 5%. And biomass and cogeneration, right, which is about 11%. So if you see in last wind, I think in India it has been continuous process. Solar has certainly picked up much more in the last decade. So if you are able to get data for 2010, you would see almost negligible amount of solar, and this renewable chart being dominated by the wind. Moving forward, looking at the different policies, initiatives, we expect this part to actually become larger and larger contributor in the overall renewable energy source kitty. Yeah, so this table shows you the difference between the energy and the installed capacity for different renewable technologies, right? For example, wind, in the month of February 2020, you see wind installed capacity was this much, and this was the wind energy was this much in terms of billion units, and this was the installed capacity, right? So units are different for both of them. One is billion unit and one is gigawatt. So do not compare these two because the units are different for the scale. But what you can observe here is the comparison between the energy production, right, between different technologies, right? So you can see that even though solar is little bit less in terms of the installed capacity, but it is producing more energy than wind. So if you see, there could be a lot of factors. As I told you before, renewable energy plant is the installed capacity, but now it all depends how much of resource do you actually have. So let's say I set up a solar plant, but there is no sun in that area. Then even though I installed a large solar plant, the energy output is going to be much smaller. So you can see that it may so happen that so we need to understand the region is rich in which resource. Is it rich in wind? Is it rich in solar? Is it rich in biomass? Is it rich in hydro? And then try to build suitable renewable energy power plants in that area so as to make most of the funds invested in that particular power plant, right? Good thing is we saw that the total renewable energy in terms of the installed capacity in India was about, I think, 24% or something. Let me just quickly go back. Yeah, it's about 24.1%. In terms of the energy, it constitutes about 10% of the total energy, which is still something positive to look at. So for February 2020, renewable contributed to 11.24 billion units in that month, which is about 10% of the total generation. So yeah. So what have India been doing, and what is the plan for these renewable energy sources? So National Solar Mission was initiated in beginning of 2010. The main aim for the National Solar Mission is to increase solar photovoltaic based and solar thermal was also a part of it, was to increase solar based power generation. The initial target was about 20 gigawatt, which was set up, but then as you and again, as I told earlier, it was both solar thermal and solar photovoltaic. But if you see from 2010 to 2020, the pricing of the solar photovoltaic has dropped significantly because of the volume and other factors. And now if you compare the cost and the performance and the overall lifetime of operation of solar thermal versus solar photovoltaic has certainly moved quite far ahead in terms of the installed capacity. So now if you see now the more recent initiatives along with Solar Mission is focusing more on the photovoltaics part. Additional advantage of photovoltaic technology is that it can be installed at a much smaller scale also, which is and it operates with the same efficiency as it would in a larger scale, which was not the case with, for example, other generation like solar thermal, or for that matter wind, fossil fuel based and so on. So that's also another unique point with solar generation. So then the target got revised to 100 gigawatt by year 2022. We just saw we are as of now about 40 gigawatt. There are a lot of plants are coming up, and if not at 100 gigawatt, we should be very close to the target by 2022. What about the cumulative renewable targets? Again, earlier target was about 175 gigawatt of total renewable, solar, wind, everything put together by 2022. Aiming for 100 gigawatt of solar and 60 gigawatt of wind. Now, recently it has been announced that the target for 2030 is 450 gigawatt of total renewable. So yeah, in our grid, we would see a lot of increase in power generation from these renewable sources in coming future. What are the different initiatives and activities that are being going on in and around the renewable sources. So I have just picked up three sample activities to show you one from each segment. First one is called as Pradhan Mantri Kisan Urja Suraksha Evam Uttam Mahabhiyan, which which has an abbreviation which is PM Kusum, right? So this was a scheme which was mainly targeting farmers' energy independence, right? And their income and dieselize in the farm sector. So as of now, if you see, most of the farmers use diesel-based water pumping systems, right? And for lighting and other things also, if you see, there is usually burning of kerosene or other forms of lamp which are used at quite a few places. So considering that this scheme was set up, so it had three components. If the component A was to sort of set up a smaller power plants based on solar, which were each of about 500 kilo to 2 megawatt plant, and those power can then be sold to the local distribution company. That was one of the components. So these plants could be set up in the farmland. Then the component B was installing of standalone solar based water pumps, right? So instead of using diesel pumps, installation of solar pumps. If you see, roughly out of 100% cost, 60% cost was coming as subsidy together from central and state, and there were different kinds of loans and other things available for 30%. So the down payment sort of reduced to 10% to install such systems. And then component C was the conversion of the existing pumps into solar based pumps, right? Yeah. Now one is, yes, we are talking about installing more solar, installing more renewable, but if you look at other way around, you can, for instance, improve the energy efficiency at the load end and thus reduce the need for installing more power producing plants. So with that thought, this was another scheme which is called as Unnat Jyoti by Affordable LEDs for All, which is Ujala, wherein although the primary target was to give LED bulbs for residential users, but then eventually also included LED tube lights and energy efficient ceiling fans. Now, how it helps is, let's take a very basic example. Let's say I am as of now using a tube light which consumes 40 watt of power, 40, and I replace it with an LED bulb or a LED tube light which consumes 20 watt of power, and it gives me the same lumens, so the same brightness. So essentially I am reducing 20 watt of load from my home. If you see the same power when it comes from the power plant, there are a lot of losses that happens in the distribution and transmission system. So you can imagine this 40 watt or 20 watt reduction might actually be around 30 watt reduction load on the power plant. Now if I have to add this 30 watt of power generation there, I might have to, if I, let's say, talk about solar, it costs about 50 rupees per watt, then I might have to do 50 into 30, which is about 1500 rupees I have to spend to set up a power plant to give me 30 watts, right? On the other hand, if I just replace the bulb tube light with the LED tube light, and if that costs me less than 1500 rupees, so this is a better alternative, right? Or rather, becomes one of the alternative of installing power plants. So this was, I think, the basic idea behind government's push to utilize the energy efficient bulbs and fans. If you see, over 36.4 crores of LED bulbs, 72 lakh of tube lights, LED tube lights, and 23 lakh energy efficient fans were distributed. There were a lot of advantages of doing this. For instance, because of the large procurement, the prices have dropped, right? The users got used to these LED lights and bulbs, and now even if they have to buy at market prices, they are happy doing it because they understand the advantages of using these things. So these are on the right hand side. You see some of the advantages which came out of the scheme are mentioned. This was again taken from the scheme website. And if you see, another source was EESL website, which stands for Energy Efficiency Services Limited, which was one of the partner in that scheme. Okay, so now we have tried to install more solar, we have tried to replace the loads with efficient loads. What else we can do to move more towards renewable? That is the third and the biggest part, which is shifting one of the highly intensive sector working using fossil fuels to electric. Right, so the mobility, if we can shift it to electric, then we would end up reducing much more, and we would be able to save a lot in terms of fossil fuel. We can avoid fossil fuels. So FAME is one of the scheme which stands for faster adoption and manufacturing of hybrid and electric vehicles. FAME. It started in 2015 at a relatively smaller scale with a total outlay of about 529 crores. Focusing on demand creation, right, technology platform, pilot projects, and charging infrastructure. Now 2019 onwards, it's in phase 2, which has a relatively higher outlay of 10,000 crores of Indian rupee, out of which, if you see, majority has been allocated for demand incentive, which is to support about 7,000 e-buses, 5 lakh three-wheelers, electric, 55,000 four-wheeler passenger cars, and 10 lakh of two-wheelers. So this certainly helps in removing the fossil fuel usage, but also adds additional burden on our existing grid. And therefore, the EV adoption and the increasing deployment of renewables in the grid both has to sort of move hand in hand to sort of achieve the most optimal output. On the right hand side, I have just shown a picture taken from FAME 2 website, which shows, let's say, for example, what are the different vehicles, two-wheeler, three-wheeler, passenger carriers, and so on. And what is the minimum range these vehicles should offer in terms of kilometers, so as to qualify for the scheme, and what is the minimum max speed that one vehicle must have, what is the minimum acceleration that it should have, and so on. So these values helps in sort of putting a minimum benchmarking of the available products. But what I feel is, as we move along, these minimum benchmarkings would remain minimum, and the products that we would see in future, the electric products, are going to be much more enhanced than what bare minimum is required. Right, so these are the three different, I would say, three different angles in which I discussed about. There are a lot of activities, lot of initiatives, lot of discussions, and you can visit the different websites to read more about these initiatives.